So today I'm trying to be a bit faster, and this is the reason why I'm once again gonna do things at the same time. But there's another word that I could be using. I don't remember it now. Anyway, we are gonna go through an ideas.ted.com article. At least I'm gonna try to find something that is worth going through. Menopause is something that almost all women go through, so why the silence? How to support a friend or family member who's struggling with their mental health. Very important. Very, very, very fucking important. This is why this is gonna be an amazing article. No matter what. Since it is just a topic that needs to be talked about, that needs to be part of the conversation, and that just really needs a ton of attention. It's important. It is just really, really, really important. By Sahai Kaur Kohli. I've probably, butchered that name so tremendously, and I'm sorry for that. But I hope everything is fine. So let's see. Every one of us, everyone is not written as one word, but as two. Anyway, every one of us has mental health in the same way that every one of us has physical health. Can you actually also write it in that way? Well, I don't know. Yet, despite the prevalence of mental health struggles, there is still so much stigma around them. Worldwide, the leading cause of disability is depression. According to the World Health Organization, and in the US alone, nearly 1 in 5 of adults lives with a mental illness. As a mental health therapist in training and the founder of Brown Girl Therapy, the largest mental health community for children of immigrants living in the West, I regularly get asked the question, how can I support a loved one who is struggling with their mental health? With the multiple crises we're currently living through, it can feel like more and more people we know are currently hurting. Maybe you've noticed that a friend's behavior or demeanor, whatever, has changed and you're concerned, or a family member is opening up to you for the first time about their anxiety. I know it's challenging to know what to say or do, and yeah, it really is, and I struggle with that a lot. I really try to be, and I in general am when it comes to communication and talking and these things, to be as to really make sure that I'm not saying something I shouldn't say. And this is something incredibly important for me because that can change a lot. One word, one sentence, one thing that you say that maybe should not have been said, or maybe should have been said, can change a ton of things, for the better and also for the worse. Anyway, here are 8 things that you can do, and 8 things you should not do when you're supporting someone who is struggling with their mental health. First, the do's. Do listen and validate. Be curious about what your friend is struggling with and how it's impacting them. Instead of asking yes or no questions, ask open-ended questions to allow them to share their experience with you. Questions like, what's going on, or how long have you been experiencing this, or how are you coping? When they respond, use validating statements that will help them feel heard and accepted just as they are. Many people who struggle with their mental health may often blame or judge themselves about what they are going through. Some may feel that their struggles aren't valid because they're all in their head. Even if you can't completely understand or relate to their feelings or experiences, you want to communicate to your loved one that they are perfectly okay. This can be as simple as saying, that sounds really difficult. And yes, this is validating and acknowledging the fact that, they don't feel good. Not being like, oh, that's not too bad. Some other people are going through way worse shit than you're going through. No. The thing is, even if it might indeed be something that's minor and not that big of a deal, this is how you think about that. And or I, for that matter, think about that. But it is not about us. It's not about you, it's not about me. It is about the other person. It is about the person that we're trying to help. And if it is the case that for this person is something incredibly important or incredibly a big deal, then it is just a big deal for this person, fucking period. And this is something that we have to keep in mind, that we have to also make sure that we're communicating that, which is all about validating things. Okay, I understand that you're feeling bad. I hear you out. I listen to you. Well, support looks different for everyone, and what you may need when you're struggling may not be what someone else needs. Do ask what they need from you. Instead of making assumptions about what would be helpful to your loved one, ask them directly. How can I support you? Or what would be helpful to you right now? Remember, support looks different for everyone, and what you may need when you're struggling may not be what someone else needs when they're having a hard time. Do offer to help with everyday tasks. A lot of people who struggle with their mental health may find it incredibly difficult to make basic decisions or perform even seemingly small chores. Instead of using the generic phrase, I'm here if you need me, try to be specific about what you're offering, so your friend won't have to bear the burden of reaching out or figuring out what they need in the first place. If you visit them, take a look around and see what they could use assistance with, like doing the dishes, weeding, it's not wedding, but weeding, vacuum, or folding laundry. If you talk to them, offer to take them to a doctor's appointment or to a grocery or drugstore run for them. You might also consider sending them a gift card for their meals. Do celebrate their wins, including the small ones. When a person is struggling with their mental health, every day can be full of challenges. So cheer on their accomplishments and victories. This can help affirm their feelings of agency and efficiency. This could look like thanking them for being so honest and vulnerable with you, or congratulating them for going to work or for taking their dog out for a regular walk. Many people struggling with their mental health already feel a baseline level of guilt for being a drag on other people's time, energy, and mental space. Which, by the way, can also sometimes be the case, And I've also experienced people being, quite, at first being helped though, and after a multitude of tries and a multitude of conversations and, tries to make things better, that they just stop, not because they failed, but they just don't see any progress in the person they're trying to help, or maybe even the person is not willing to be helped or is not willing to do something about that. And I don't know, like, there is something that I've learned from the ambulance, and that's a common phrase, or a phrase to remember something, and it is Eigenschutz vor Fremdschutz, as the German phrase would be, which means you are gonna protect yourself first, and then you're gonna protect other people. So you make sure that you're fine, and then you can make sure that other people are fine. But at first, you have to be fine, and you have to be safe, and everything, your life shouldn't be harmed in any way. Even if you're trying to help other people, which is basically the underlying thing that the ambulance is doing, helping people. For example, when there is a fucking house burning, you're not gonna step in. You're probably gonna die. And even though you really would like to help this person, you have to wait till somebody is there that can actually do that, and that actually can get those people out of the house without any harm, which is gonna be the fire brigade, or whatever the fuck they are called. I don't know. Anyway, do read up on what they're struggling with. There is another important burden you can remove from their plate: having to teach you about mental illness. Instead, take the time to educate yourself on what they're going through. For example, learning more about depression, panic attacks, or anxiety so you can understand their lived experience and be aware of severe or risky behaviors or symptoms to look out for. Today, there are so many places online to find informative, helpful content from peer-reviewed journals and articles by mental health professionals to post in digital communities and personal essays by people who share in your loved one's mental health challenges. Do check in with them regularly. Many people struggling with their mental health already feel a baseline level of guilt for being a drag. So consistently check in, which is going to be a quick text, and it is fine with them. Keep them company when you can and remind your friend that you love them and you're on their side. Do recognize, and it is very important, my point of view, incredibly important to just show them regularly. You just have to remember it is a mental illness. Of course, maybe over the course of a day, they are going to forget about that, quote unquote, or there's going to be some doubts that you're not going to be there, and so on and so forth. Anyway, do recognize that not all mental health struggles look the same. Not all mental health challenges or mental illnesses look the same. People might struggle as the result of a specific event or circumstance, while other people may be living with a chronic mental illness. If the latter is true for your loved one, don't expect them to get over it as they would with a flu or broken bone. Meet them where they can. What? Meet them where they are, reminding them you understand it is something they are living with. This can take different forms depending on what they need. This could mean understanding when they cancel plans on you because they're having a particularly tough day, or adapting your plans with them to reflect what they're able to do. It's important to remove the stigma from taking care of our mental health and talk about it just like we would talk about going to physicians for physical illness. Yeah, but it's difficult. Changing society is difficult. Do normalize talking about mental health. Well, I'm not going to go through that because there's quite a few things left that I need to go through, and maybe I'm going to just go back to it. Now the don'ts. Don't compare their experience to others. I really want to drive one point home. Everyone experiences their mental health struggles and mental health illnesses differently. In the guise of trying to make a loved one feel better, you may be tempted to tell them everyone deals with anxiety or depression, you see, sometimes, or bring up an acquaintance who had the same illness but benefited from a specific strategy, treatment, or therapy. Even though I think this is even a more understandable thing to say, like, okay, I've had a friend that was also going through a depression and he did this and that and these and those and it really helped him, so why not try it out if this person didn't try it out already? I think this is totally fine, but being like, okay, this person had something like this and that and these and those and it was so bad and whatnot, and thankfully you're just depressed or some shit like this, because this is complete and utter bullshit. Anyway, resist this temptation. Even though saying those things can be helpful in terms of normalizing their experience and making them feel less alone, they can also have the united effect of pressuring them to get over it or minimize what they're feeling. Another thing to avoid, reminding them of what they have or should be grateful for. Toxic positivity and comparison to others can reinforce the narrative that your loved one's problems aren't important. Avoid using stigmatizing words like crazy or cuckoo, or saying things like that is so OCD or take Xanax. What the fuck? Who the fuck would fucking say it? Anyway, don't use stigmatizing language. Be careful how you talk about mental health around your friends, and in general, avoid using stigmatizing words like crazy or cuckoo and diagnosed blah 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 bloop. Like saying that it's so well. When you want them to calm down, check your own assumptions surrounding mental health issues and professional mental health care and medication, so you can't or you aren't causing your loved one unnecessary pain. Don't take the behavior personally. People's mental health, well, I think this just speaks for itself. Don't take that behavior personality. Whatever they may be doing, it is an illness. Remember that. Don't be confrontational or try to control the situation. When you're faced with a loved one in pain or distress, it can be really difficult not to get in the metaphorical driver's seat and forcefully do what you think will relieve their suffering. But in doing this, you're diminishing their sense of agency. You want to be with your loved one while they're navigating their own struggles, not steering them or pushing. So don't be aggressive about what they should or shouldn't do, and don't give them ultimatums. Don't get discouraged. Yeah, this also speaks for itself. Don't burn yourself out trying to support your loved one, which is basically what I meant before. Like, just try to be safe and then you can save others. The better you take care of yourself, the better you can be support to your loved one. And make sure to keep taking care of yourself, doing the things you love and recharging your own batteries while being there for your loved one. Be clear and direct about your boundaries and find ways to honor what you need to do in order to be able to show up for them. People who are struggling with their mental health are not broken and they do not need to be fixed. Don't try to fix them. People who are struggling with their mental health are not broken. They do not need to be fixed. By jumping in with solutions and advice when they don't explicitly ask for it, you're sending them the message that what they're going through is wrong or bad, when in fact, you're projecting your own discomfort with what they're going through. Realize that your impulse to dive into a fix-it mode can actually be a coping mechanism to ease and absorb your own discomfort and anxiety, which brings me to my next point. Don't avoid the feelings that come up for you. When we see our loved ones grappling with something difficult, chronic, or hard to comprehend, we can often bring up our own difficult feelings and our own discomfort or anxiety. When this happens, it is important not to shove that stuff under the rug. Spend time reflecting on what is coming up for you. Here are some questions you can ask yourself. Are you anxious because you're scared of what is going to happen to your loved one? Are you avoiding them because you feel helpless? Are you carrying around your own biases or stigmas around mental health? Are you on edge because you're resentful, burned out, or just plain confused? It's important to get clarity on what is coming up for you and why, so you can take care of yourself and still be there for your friend. Don't be ashamed if you find that you could use some support or professional care. One great US-based resource is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which hosts free support groups for people who love someone that's struggling with their mental health. Well, and for the end of the episode, I do want to share something that I'm struggling with, and actually quite a lot. Very often, very, very, very often, I just don't see the purpose in whatever the fuck I'm doing. I'm doing many things, and I have a lot of habits. Especially doing sports and all of those things. But even sometimes in this, I just don't find any purpose, and why? Why am I even doing it? Why do I do the things that I do? And this can be extremely difficult because, well, if you're having a day off, and this happened to me actually quite often, you feel like, what am I gonna do now? I've really been struggling with having something to do and knowing what to do, and actually being fine with also not doing anything and just resting or whatever. Yeah, I still really, really, really have a difficult time with that, and quite often it is bothering me quite a bit because I just like to be fine sometimes. I just like to be happy, and often I find myself not to be happy, even though I think I should be, especially when I'm having a day off of work and I actually can do the things that I'd like to do. But the problem is I don't know what to do. But yeah, anyway, speaking of the ambulance, maybe you can hear it. Nah, probably not. Anyway, I'm gonna see you the next time. Bye bye.